All right. This is If My People Bible Reading Part 236. We are now into the specialty readings and special request. The request by a number of writers and readers and defenders of the word was, how should now we live? And in light of what's going on right now, what is our plan? How should we live tomorrow? And so I'm going to give it to you biblically. It's in the Beatitudes, and you'll find all of it there. Now, the there, got to turn on a timer. Now, the Bible was written in specific times and dates when everything is released. We put you all the way through the Bible reading on that, so you understand that. Uh, Mark was written first, and later on, Matthew was written. And then later on than that, a few years later, Luke was written. In the last book, which is many years later, the the book of John was written. So John was not written until long after all the disciples were dead, except John. And what you get out of those four Gospels tells you very much of how to live, as we'll explain. So let's go to Mark 4. Let's do that first. And we'll go to Mark 4, and it talks about sowing and reaping. It explains how Yeshua in chapter 3, let's go to chapter 3, start there. He went into the synagogues, and in chapter 3, he goes into all of them in chapter 3. He goes into the synagogue, and then he goes wherever that people would gather. He talks about Shabbat and what you're supposed to do with it. Shabbat was for man. Man was not for Shabbat. Shabbat was given to man so that man could do what is necessary to do. Not what you're told in synagogues and not what you're told in being in church on Sunday, no matter what, which happens to be the wrong day of the week to begin with. Verse 7, Yeshua withdrew to the sea, his disciples. So he was there around the sea on a number of occasions, not just once. And the Sermons on the Mounts, there were several of them, not just one. And so as we continue on even in the book of Mark chapter 3, verse 21, listen to this. And when his own family heard, they went out to take hold of him, for they thought he was nuts, crazy. What does your Bible say? His own family didn't have much to do with him as far as the faith of, do they absolutely positively believe that he is the Son of God Almighty, of Yahweh? The answer was no, not even close. How about his mother? Mary just had such great respect for that man. But did she have full faith in him? You'll find none of that in the Bible. How interesting that people pray to Mary now. Okay, so that's when you get into chapter 4. It says he began to teach by the sea. So here he is by the sea again. He's over here. He's over there. He's all over the place. He does what he needs to do where he wants to do it. It has nothing to do with a building to be in. So then we go to, let's go back to Matthew chapter 5. And it has to do with the Beatitudes, what you've been normally taught in Sunday school, the Beatitudes. And that's just wonderful because there's 8 of them, and they're kind of easy to read, so that means there's 8 of them. So that means there's 8 of them, right? Wrong. You know me. I like to dig in the bottom of things. Let's go to, let's see, we're at Matthew now. We got the Beatitudes. So let's go to Luke chapter 6. Let's go to Luke chapter 6. Life gets pretty interesting. And it says, and it so happens in reading in chapter 6, first verse, and it happened on the second chief Sabbath. Now, when is that? What is, so it's a chief Sunday? No, it's a Shabbat, so it's a Saturday. Which Saturday? Well, it's not particularly a Saturday. It's a Shabbat chief special. So what does that mean? Well, Yeshua was buried in the middle of the week. middle of the week comes into context to a lot of understanding of what happens in the middle of the week. Somebody was cut off in the middle of the week, weren't they? So the chief Sabbath, well, you have High Shabbat, and a High Shabbat would be Passover on that particular spring. And then you would have Shabbat, which would be that following Friday. That's Shabbat, right? And then so what would be the chief Shabbat? Well, the chief Shabbat would be first fruits, which hasn't happened yet, but he's talking about it already. So what's happening on the chief Shabbat? The first one. He rises from the dead. He is the first fruits. So as you continue reading chapter 6, you'll see that there are 10 Beatitudes, and you are seeing woes now mentioned. Now we got some woes going on. Kind of interesting how people remember the good stuff, the Beatitudes, which is a good thing to do. There's your plan. And read the woes too, because there's what you don't want to do. Tells you who to be with, who not to be with, what to do, what not to do, how to live, how not to live, how to walk, how not to walk. It's all there in these Beatitudes and woes. So having said that, let's go to the book of John. Now, John was written very much later. And so let's go up to chapter 6. Chapter 6. Chapter 6, verse 60. That's way up there, verse 60. And from 60 to 66, it mentions about the teaching in Capernaum and about people who hear it. And when you get through 66, what does it tell you? It tells you how to live and not to live these days. How do you live these days? You stick close to him no matter what goes on. Well, what happens? What does it read in verse 66 in chapter 6 in the book of John? Because of this saying, let's go to 65 because we know what is the beginning of the saying. 65, and he said, because of this I have told you that no one is able to come to me except it is given to him by my Father. You can seek Jesus all you want. You can come to Jesus all you want. That's what you're supposed to do. But you don't go and knock on his door. He knocks on yours. So that means you seek salvation. And if you earnestly do, he will seek you, and he will knock on your door. He will knock on your door. And this is how it is going to be. You can't just order him up, name it and claim it salvation. You can't do it. Live and walk in the Beatitudes and watch out for the woes. They're all there for you. So, verse 66, because of this saying, many of his disciples turned their backs and did not walk with him. Now, that's not the first time. After the Sermons on the Mounts, which there were numerous, after he was down by the sea, in which there were several, not just one of each, most left him. They got what they wanted. They got healed. They got all these special things done to them. If 10 of them got healed, only one came back to say thank you. And that's how it is in life. This end days is a remnant of people, a remnant of people, not a mass salvation of the entire world. It's even the Christians are in serious trouble if you're just doing it for insurance. Let's go to a video or audio here, a little something there. Visual is what I want to talk about. Let's do that for a second. I want you to see something. Okay, let's make this thing a little bigger. There we go. The 8 Beatitudes of Matthew 5 and the 8 Woes of Matthew 23. You'll notice how they match. And is this a New Testament thing? No. Go down to the bottom of the screen and look here. These Beatitudes rest on special passages in the Psalms. Every one of the Beatitudes in Matthew 5, chapter 5, can be found in Psalms at different locations for each one, but all 8 are there. For those of you who may want to freeze the screen and take a look at it later, but there it is. So let's see here. Grace, mercy, all of this, love, It came in the old covenant, did not come in just the new covenant. How interesting that is, that exact opposite of what you're being taught in all those wonderful institutionalized churches out there. The woes. The kingdom is shut. Mourners are distressed. Fanatics compassing the earth. They're everywhere. False righteousness sought by this casual mercy is omitted and everything's left undone, and purity is without, and uncleanness is within, blindness is everywhere, hypocrites and lawlessness and persecutors. Does that sound familiar? Does that sound familiar to today? Well, that's what you're looking at. So when someone says, are we in apocalypse? Are we in the tribulation? Is Satan here at the door next? And is he going to set up a shop somewhere in Jerusalem? Everybody keeps asking the question. The answer is we are in the Beatitudes and we are in the woes. That's what we are in the year 2020, 2021. And guess what? Keep reading. It doesn't get any better. It doesn't improve. We don't get pulled out of it. We are to grab on to this walk to righteousness in the mercy and the grace of Yeshua, and only through Yeshua will we get to the Father. That is extremely important. It's so important that it is a plan. Some of you are asking for a plan. What is the plan? What do I do in 2021? Just take these readings I've just given you, and you will know what to do. You can email me on anything else. I'll be glad to help you out. But that is what we need to do. We've gone all the way through this Bible. I think you understand the importance of it. There is no mass salvation of the world. There is always, always, always. It is a remnant that comes out of all these things. And so once again, as the word says, even in the last days, the elect and maybe the very elect are going to be fooled. And certainly I've met a bunch of them. What I've said here is right out of the word, and people will contradict me. So I thought, well, I'll put it in a visual so you can see it. Even the arguments, there were people arguing over Beatitudes. Yeah, one time Yeshua gave out a few, then and he gave out hints, and then in another one he gave out 8, and then in another one he gave out 10. And in some of them he gave all the woes, and in some of them he gave just a couple woes. He's telling you over and over again, he's a teacher of the word. He is the mighty teacher. No matter what we think we are, we're nothing compared to him. He is the mighty teacher. And he's doing this on the simplest. He's talking to the crowds. So that means he's talking down, he's down low. He's down low to the crowd so the crowds can understand. They're not all sitting there going, what did he say? What did he mean? I don't know. He's telling you in the Beatitudes. He's telling you in the woes the underlining points of how to walk in these last days. He wasn't entertaining the people. He wasn't doing it just for the entertaining the people on the Sea of Galilee or the Sea of Tiberias and up on the hillside somewhere, up near the synagogues, down near the synagogues, up near the temple, around the temple, up on the side of the temple there. On Solomon's porch, he was doing it for you, because you were the purpose of the written word to be put into one Bible, just to read it and understand it and seek Yeshua and seek the Father through Yeshua. All right. That's where we're going to end this one. I'll be putting this up pretty quick because a number of people have asked for my plans. I've got all kinds of other plans that come from it, but that comes through prayer and supplication with the Father. If not, get a hold of me and I'll be glad to share you everything I have offline. Okay? All right. Blessings.